Hey, Mary Ellen.
Hi, Iris.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are
For
you?
you.
Good.
It looks like I
There's
see
four
Jill,
participants, but I see only two.
and she hasn't been here for so long.
Hey, Jill.
Well, I'll tell you, 5 o'clock is an odd hour. I keep meaning to come, and then I'll look at my watch and it's 6 o'clock. So it's nice to see you all.
Nice to see
You
you
too.
too. Well, we can't actually see you, but we see a great picture of you wearing a life jacket and
Oh, I
standing
don't
near a
have my
boat.
video turned on. No wonder. Here we go. No, that didn't do it. There we
Oh,
go.
there you are. Folks are coming in.
Ooh, lots of people.
We're getting a little bit of audio from somebody's background, maybe like somebody talking or TV. Thanks, whoever muted. Well, welcome. We may have some more folks coming in. I know for a fact that one of our regulars, Bev, is going to come a little bit late. She's got another meeting. And we've got a few more people coming in from the waiting room here, but welcome. I'm Iris. I'm from Cashmere Goat in Camden, Maine. We are meeting up for Socktober. We've got some awesome folks on with us tonight, and we're talking about socks, but you know, other things sometimes come into the conversation. So this is a kind of a fun space to chat and get to know some sock makers from near and far. So, hi, Ginny and Jill. We haven't seen you guys in a little bit, and Heidi's here. Heidi's actually a local goat, so sometimes I get to see Heidi in the shop. And we have some of our regulars, and it looks like maybe a new face, Lynn. I don't know that I know
Yep,
you from.
I
Yeah,
am
hey,
new.
Lynn. Welcome. Where are you
Hi,
joining
how
us
are you?
from?
Southern New Hampshire.
Awesome. And are you, so this is your first knit along, yes? With us?
My first one with you guys, yes. Yep. And I missed I had to miss last week. So
Well, we love that you found us. And are you a seasoned sock knitter or a new beginner sock knitter?
I used to make a lot of socks probably 20 years ago, and then I stopped making socks. So I've knit a couple this year. So I guess I'm a seasoned newbie.
You have the concept, you know, you have the concept, the
I do.
structure, it'll come back to you, I'm sure. Well, love to hear. Do you have a sock on the needles yet, Lynn?
I finished a pair actually.
You finished.
There they are.
Amazing.
Oh,
let me pin you. Keep holding those up. I'm
okay.
gonna spotlight you for everybody so we can all see.
Yep. So I finished the pair.
Ooh, awesome. Congrats.
So, and this was, I don't know what yarn it was. Somebody gave it to me 2 years ago. So it's been sitting in my unused bag. So I decided to do them. So
Wonderful. And do you have another sock pattern in mind, or are you gonna keep going?
I'm actually gonna do a stocking that I bought at your shop this summer. So this is the pattern of the one I'm going to be doing.
oh, nice.
And I haven't cast it on yet, but I plan to do that tonight.
I think I might remember when you were in the shop. Was I working when you came in? Do you remember?
You were, yep. And I did some retail damage while my husband was sitting on his iPad at the work table.
Well, it's good to keep them busy when you come with a shopping companion who maybe
Yep.
isn't quite as excited about yarn. Oh,
Yeah,
well, that's
yeah,
awesome.
he didn't mind. He was like, buy whatever you want, I'm like, okay.
Wonderful. We love to hear it. Love those types of partners. Well, welcome. Really happy that you hopped in with us.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I can't play, sweetie. I'm on my Zoom meeting.
Pat, you're talking to sweet little Riley, is that
Oh,
right?
shoot, I thought I was muted. I'm so sorry.
Riley's a dog, just so you
Whoops,
know.
he's
Riley's
here
a very
again.
sweet
Sorry.
pup. No worries. That was very sweet, actually. Well, does anybody else would like to introduce themselves, especially for folks who haven't been here before? Like, introduce yourself, maybe tell us where you're joining from and what you're knitting on, if you're new to sock knitter or not, and if you've got a sock pattern that you could recommend or that you want to share.
Okay, I'll jump in. I
Thanks,
switched,
Jenny.
you know me, I'll always jump in. I switched from sort of a very plain pattern. I'm doing one, and I think somebody else was doing it last week. It's called Scatterby sock. I'm trying to see if I can Scatterby socks, and it's a free pattern by Amy Stringer.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Right. And it's interesting because she goes through this whole, I think it's this one, she goes through a whole thing about measuring your foot and drawing a cardboard thing. And it was like, yeah. Yeah. But so I had, and I'm doing it on the round hydrangea. And so this was the first one. It's got a pattern. It's a 4-row repeat,
Yeah.
which
Oh, that's
doesn't,
cute.
I kind of,
Ooh,
I would say I'm
Yeah.
about 80% right in it, because all of a sudden you look and you go like, wait a minute, was that or was that that? And then I decided I like knitting them 2 at a time. So this is the baby sister. So she's about 4 rows behind, and my goal is to get them all on one. This is like a 40-inch needle. So I'll do them 2 at a time because second sock syndrome and all that kind of stuff.
I love it. And I love that you and Pat are using that beautiful hydrangea from On the Round.
It's really pretty.
I
It's
was
very-
looking
and
at
it's a
that.
nice,
Oh, go,
it's
sorry.
nicely wound.
Mm.
You know, I'm using one for something else that's by Earth, and I did socks by Earth, but I'm finding that yarn very splitty. So, you know, that's how we get our favorites, right?
I think I agree. I agree that the Nimble sock is nicely wound. I don't usually have trouble splitting with it. It is a little more maybe plush too, so it feels easy on my hands when I'm knitting with it. I will also say that if you've not tried Seven Sisters in the Meridian, the sock Meridian that she makes, that's a beautiful sock yarn to work with as well. It's a 6-ply, I think, and it's just really firm, but not too firm on your hands, if you know what I mean. It feels pretty good and holds up nicely too.
That wasn't the one we got on the knitting cruise, was it?
That was Seven Sisters in Astrid, which
Astrid,
is the
okay.
single ply, which is the superwash and the silk, which is beautiful in its own way, but maybe not for socks.
Okay.
I should actually pause and say, does anybody on here need any beginner sock knitter, have any beginner sock knitter questions? Because I promised that we would make sure that we carved out some space for addressing any beginner questions. Well, I saw Julia's hand go up first, and then I saw Mona, and then I saw Heidi. So let's go right through it. Hey, Julie. Sorry, Julie, you prefer Julie.
that's okay. It's an intermediate question, I guess, but I'm at the point where I've turned the heel and I'm starting to go for the instep on this little Christmas sock.
Okay.
And the direction at this point says PUW and K. Yeah, I don't know what a PUW is, and it's not in the key for the pattern.
Okay. Any ideas from the group? Do we have any? I'm Googling right now, although I'm sure you've done that.
I was about to.
Mary Ellen, were you raising your hand?
Yeah, go for it. No.
Pick up
pick up and
Pick up and knit.
Could it be pick up white?
Pick up and knit.
Huh.
or pick up white and knit, Jill added.
Oh, possibly.
Maybe, although I'm already in the white.
Hmm.
Huh.
So what do you think they're asking? Like, so what are we?
We're moving between, I've knit across the instep stitches for the first time since, no, pardon me. I've just knit in the body color across where the heel gusset
Okay.
is. And I'm going to move over to the stitches for the instep. And I was thinking that it really should just be that I would move on to the next needle and knit more with the white, but I don't know if I'm missing something I'm supposed to do special.
I wonder if it's because it's at, well, first of all, I mean, any fussy business when we're talking about a sock that's actually not going to be worn by a foot, I think we could also just be like, yeah, whatever, we kind of can figure out what to do here. But I'm wondering, could it be that they want you to like pick up a strand of white between those, the instep and the heel, you know, to like close the gap is my only thought. Like pick up a strand of that white, like the bar between the stitches, and then maybe knit them through the back loop or something to minimize the little hole that you sometimes get there.
That sounds very reasonable, very sensible.
We could go with it and see what happens.
I vote we go with it and see what happens.
Perfect.
I'll report back. Thank you.
I'm just
Well, good to
wondering,
have- oh, go ahead,
you
Ginny.
did others from this series, right? Isn't this like the 12?
This is the second, and I did the other one 3 or 4 years ago.
But I'm wondering if maybe in the other pattern it would have what that meant.
Oh, it's like the master pattern that you do everything except the fancy section from. And then there are those, I don't know, it's like maybe 25 or 30 rows of the fancy section that you just hop off to the individual chart. And I can't remember what I did 3 years ago on the other one.
Tell surprise.
Really?
Can't remember what I did yesterday.
Oh, I won't even go there.
Oh, well, I love being on Zoom with all of you because it's so fun to brainstorm solutions together when we have little problems. So let's see, Mona, do you have a question? Yeah. Okay.
Well, Julie, I think that that's really rude right off the bat that the pattern didn't have that as a.
I agree. No fair.
And you know, if you figure it out, you can write it down for the next one. I don't know.
I may bug the designer on that one.
that would never hurt. So
Good idea.
when I answered the quiz, you know, are you an experienced sock knitter? Well, there wasn't really a third alternative. I've knit socks, but I've never finished them. So years ago, the Kitchener stitch got me all hooked up, and then I put aside knitting. So nonetheless, I'm knitting this, which was some stash yarn I had downstairs. But I have some Meridian sock yarn on the way here, so I'm looking forward to knitting with that because the Seven Sisters from the cruise was heavenly. So I'm doing that on Iris's recommendation. So what I did is that somewhere along the line I clicked on Arne and Carlos's Easiest Sock.
Right.
Okay, well, so there we go. And then as you do, as when you're on YouTube, I kept clicking different things. I printed out, you know, I bought their pattern, but it was on fingerling weight yarn, and this is DK. And then I saw something magical called the, not on their website, but just in Googling other things, the Turkish cast on.
Magical,
oh,
right?
Oh, it's magical. So I did that.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm real happy with that. So it's DK weight, and I'm up to, I think, a total of 52 stitches, and I'm doing it in the round, so I'm just going rogue. But my general question is, because now I'm not really following a pattern other than I will go back to Arnie and Carlos when I go to do the afterthought heel, which I've never done before. So this is just all over the place.
I love it.
How can I tell how far to increase before I would go up the leg? Do I slip it on my foot? Do I?
Yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes. So I would say, and you know, with a toe up sock, you can just like move it onto the nice cabley part of your needles and slip it on your little piggies and see how she seems. And we talked last week about, you know, you want your socks to have a little bit of negative ease to it, to fit nice and snug because they will stretch. But I would say that's a great way to do it. I mean, so yours are DK, is that right?
Correct. Yes.
So I would, there are a number of toe up socks that call for DK, like some designers who design top down and toe up, and they kind of like publish the pattern both ways. But it might just be worth a look, to just sort of see, you know, with the DK weight, you know, what number of stitches are they calling for? 52 sounds like it could be in the realm of correct, you know, for sort of average size, I'm assuming for your foot. You know, I know sort of a lot of folks sort of know their magic number, let's say for fingering weight, you know, I know that usually I'm like a 64 stitches kind of a gal. But that's fingering, you know, and you've got DK. And I know with the rye sock that I made for the shop in Worsted, I believe that was like 48 stitches or something, you know, so 52 sounds like you're probably getting close there, and it would be a great idea to try it on your foot.
Okay. All right. I just thought, you know, so I learned something new. I'm doing a toe up, which is new. Maybe I'll finish this because there's no Kitchener stitch. Who knows? Although there's the afterthought heel. I'm doing it on double points, and I'm doing it DK and not really following the pattern. But that is a great idea, the trying it on, but then also doing a search in Ravelry for a toe up in DK weight, and then look at the pattern and, you know, try to get an idea of
you could even, you know what you could even do, which wouldn't be toe up, but because we know that most sock patterns have the foot is the same dimensions as the leg, and for most folks that often will fit them. So you could check in the rye pattern, since that's free, and there's a DK weight version one, and you could check in with the rye pattern and just see what they recommend for sizing.
Oh, okay.
And that way it's free. You don't have to buy something that maybe you don't want to buy.
Oh, okay, great. Well, Jenny, what is the name of the pattern that you're doing? Because that looked like a Turkish toe up.
It's the Judy's. What's the cast on?
The Judy's Magic?
Yeah. But I was going to say, if you took a measurement of the widest part, like the ball of your foot, right, to go around, and then you knew what your gauge was, right? That would, like.
So that would, yeah.
And then, like you said, here is like a negative, like 1 inch negative. That would be one.
Okay.
So yeah, scatter by socks, and that has the Judy's Magic cast on, which the first time I did it had 4 attempts, and I've done it before. The second time I did it, it was like, oh, this is easy. But you have to find Judy's video online, because hers is the easiest. So many other people like, and then you do this, and then you do that.
Yeah.
Judy's video on YouTube is the clearest, and it's the easiest to follow.
Okay, well, see, I ran across that too, but then I said, I'm just gonna do this Turkish heel thing or Turkish toe thing, so anyways.
I'm gonna put the Scatterbee socks in the chat of the Zoom since it's definitely gonna be in, I'm actually working on a couple of blog posts for our website, taking some of the great information that you all added to the survey about, what socks are you knitting, what socks are your favorites, and so I'm using that. This was Kristen's really good idea, using that to create a series of blog posts and accompanying Ravelry bundles. So I've written a post about the sort of vanilla top-down sock patterns that folks recommended. And then I have another one that's going to be the vanilla toe-up sock patterns that folks recommended. And the Scatterbee was definitely on there. People seem to like it. And I kind of like that texture pattern.
That's cool.
So, well, I saw Heidi, you had your hand up. It's nice to see you again, Heidi. Glad that you're back with us.
Oh, thank you all for your input. Bye.
Oh, you're muted, Heidi.
How about now?
Perfect.
So this is my first time knitting a sock. Are you able to knit? I don't know what they're called, but the round needles versus the
Yeah. So
round
the amazing,
needles?
yeah, the amazing thing is there's so many options for knitting with different types of needles. Double pointeds are one option, and a lot of folks like those. Some people don't.
Will the
Some people.
instructions be the same?
The instructions are the same for most patterns. Like there's some patterns that are specifically maybe written for, I one of the vanilla patterns that I was, the trio of vanilla patterns that I was looking at by the Crazy Sock Lady, who has a specific pattern where she wrote it for double pointeds, and then a specific one she wrote it for magic loop, and a specific one for working on a 9-inch circular needle, a very small circumference circular needle. The concept is exactly the same. It's just she's written kind of some added instructions based on the type of needle, maybe specifically for a person who's like, well, I've always knit them on double points, but how would it work on a magic loop? Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
interject? Can I interject
Yes,
something?
please.
9-inch circular needles is what I ended up
Oh,
finally after many years
Hold
of
them back up,
doing.
Kimberly. Would you hold them back up for us? Thank you.
Oh, look at that.
These are 9-inch, and they're perfect for knitting socks in the round. And I started out when my first sock was on the four double points, and then I worked my way into 2 16-inch ones, on doing each one on 16-inch. And then somebody said, give this a whirl. And I gave this a whirl, and I never gone back.
Cool.
Because it's very easy, and it's also easy to turn a heel without having to change your needles out. And there is a pattern on how you can increase in the round for your heel and decrease, so it makes a perfect heel without having to add or subtract or switching needles or anything like that. And the book that I use, and then I'm going to shut up, is the Sock Knitters Handbook. And that has the technique of making a sock in the round and making the heel using a 9-inch, and it's called the strong heel. And this is my go-to heel, and it all stays on the needle. And this book is been around since a long time. I got it. I actually, you can't buy it in any books in any of the stores anymore, because that's how it was published in 2012. But here's the picture. And in the back of the book, it also has sizes for kids,
Mm.
women's, men's, and it takes the guesswork out of how to measure for your feet. And this has been my go-to book for 5 years, and this is my second copy because I wore out my first one.
Oh my God, I love that kind of, thank you for the book talk. This is so good. And I'm wondering, maybe a local library might be able to get a copy of that book for you, or possibly maybe they can find a used one online.
I would check Amazon Marketplace, and that's where I found my second copy. But it's just one of those books that I take it with me no matter what sock I'm working on. And even though right now I'm going back and forth on my little triangle, my other triangle's on the other side. So I can keep everything in the round. And I think I'd have a panic attack if I had to go back to double pointed needles.
I
Yep.
understand.
Well, and just looks like Julie, hop in here.
Yeah, the other alternative, and I'm wishing I actually had a second needle because I don't have the 9 inches, but sometimes I'll work around a circle on 2 12 inches or something like that, so that I don't actually have all of the extra of the double points, but I haven't had to resort to magic loop because I hate magic loop.
The 12-inch and the 16-inch are great when you're doing color work, when you're having them on the 2 needles, because you have that flexibility when you're working with the color work of a sock. So I use that method as well. Only when I do color work though, because I need that extra needle to give me that give when I'm doing the color work.
Yep. So that's another possibility.
I think the bottom line is that, like, a lot of people, let's say, maybe start on double pointeds. Just, it seems like a lot of us started there, and then these other options became available. And I think one of the best parts about socks, and I'll probably like repeat myself every week, but I just love the fact that with socks, it seems like there's always something new to learn. And you can try out different needles, and you can try out different heel techniques once you get into it. But if the double points are making you crazy, Heidi, we could probably find something that might be a little more comfortable for you.
Great. I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, Miranda and Tracy will be working tomorrow, and they will be able to set you up. And I know we just got a big needle reshipment, so hopefully we'll have what you need in stock.
Yay. Thank
Jill,
you.
were you gonna hop in here too?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm knitting on double points. I'm knitting on magic loop, and I just love magic loop. I switch around and try the others, but I always come back to this. And what I'm knitting right now is my own pattern, which is a slouch sock, which I love to wear every single day. And it's designed to slouch down. That's all
Jill, would you email me the link to this, or put it in the chat, the link to the slouch sock again, because I remember it from before.
Oh, I will send you the pattern if you like. I need to put it up on Ravelry, but first I have to figure out how to do that. But
awesome.
But I'm going to put it up as a free pattern, so I'd be happy to send it to you.
Very cool. Would you be comfortable with me sharing it with our Socktober community?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, feel free.
Okay. Awesome.
And I love to see more people wearing slouch socks. I think they're so cool. I just love them. And this, by the way, is Malabrego, Wales Road, which I can't seem to get away from. I just really love this yard. And I keep trying. My other favorite is, of course, Seven Sisters. I love knitting with Seven Sisters.
Well, I love seeing those socks again. I'm glad that you are knitting on them, and thank you for letting me share it. I think it's just so fun.
Yeah, I'll make a note to remember to send it to you.
That would be amazing.
and slouch. Sure, I'd be happy to do that.
So much. It was really fun to kind of paw through the pattern recommendations that I got from some of your survey responses and just think about how to organize them. And there's some really fun textured ones that I'll be putting together in a little group. And what else? There was some color work ones that were also really beautiful. So.
Oh, I was gonna say my
yeah.
next socks are gonna be another pair of Stephen West contrast blasts, which I just enjoyed so much knitting. His patterns are so crazy and interesting.
I agree, and that's why I'm knitting the new one. And let's see, I might be able to share my screen to show you because I finished one.
Oh, cool.
And maybe it didn't come into my photos yet. I was not in the shop today, but I remembered that I might want to share a picture of this with you folks. So let me just see. All right, so.
Oh, wow.
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 That is so you.
Oh my.
I
You're
love
right.
it.
It is so you.
It's just
Adorable.
That is
really,
great.
really
Crazy.
entertaining
Adorable.
and crazy, wild, and so you're knitting the upper part in the tube, and this is showing the 2-color I-cord bind off, which was kind of fiddly, but I got into the rhythm once I did it, and I opted for the brioche heel, which I'm interested to see how it will hold up. I don't know. It's very stretchy, very squishy. But like fascinatingly, the sock is hardly knit in the round at all. So you knit in the round for the cuff and you knit in the round for this toe, and pretty much everything else is some strange way of knitting back and forth. So yeah.
Goodness, you're brave.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It seemed like an adventure and I was willing to take it. So
You did good.
So I'm on my
That's
second
great.
one. I have the leg going right now.
Very nice.
Very cool.
And that's on the round nimble in the hydrangea, which a couple of you are using, and the tiger loop. So anybody else want to hop on either for a question or an update? Or Beth, how are you doing? Actually, I'm gonna do Beth first and then Bev, okay?
Perfect. So I just wanted to share, this is my little wonky heel, but I did the fish lip heel.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it. And it was easy to me. It was easy. It's sort of based on a wrap and turn, but instead you do this what's called a twin stitch. And they're very easy to see and they're very easy to pick up. And there's no, unlike a gusset, you're not picking up, extra stitches to close up the heel, on the side.
Yeah.
So it's like, the way they have it doing it, it goes narrow. And then when you get to the narrow part, then you're adding the twin stitches outward to make it go back out. So it was really cool. I liked it. I would probably do it again and do it versus some other kind of, wrap and turn or, short ropes stitch to, create that.
Beth, would you hold it up? Would you give us the side view so we can really get a sense of what does it look like from the side, if it's possible?
Yeah. Let me try to fold it out.
Oh.
Yeah. So now I haven't put it on to see how it actually feels on my heel, but yeah, it was really cool. So, yeah, and it went, fairly fast. So that was good.
I love that. And I also love your kind of autumn palette with that color work.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how the, let me see if I can, I always seem to, yeah, I like how
Yes.
the minis are coming along, and I like the little sprocket stitches. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, thanks.
What is
Thanks
that
for
pattern?
Pardon me?
What is that pattern?
The sock pattern is called Sprocket,
Oh, yes.
and it's by Pip and Pin.
Right.
And it's really easy. And then and I do my socks on two 16-inch. That's how I knit mine. And then like the fish lips, that's the separate little pattern. It's on Ravelry, and it's $1, I think, is what it you have to pay for it. But the great thing about, she recommended using it. So like the recipe for the fish lips, it's like really long because it has you taking all these measurements from your foot and setting up like a cardboard like pattern of your foot, because you can do it on any sock. You can either do it top down or toe up. So then like you use the little cardboard foot pattern to like gauge when you should start your heel. But in the Sprocket pattern, I actually didn't have to go through all of that, because she's like, okay, now you start the heel, and this is the heel I recommend. So it worked out well. So I'll have to try it with like my little foot pattern to see on another one, to see if I can make sure I can like, know when to put the heel in.
That's just, yet again, like so many different heels. We all have different shaped heels. Kristen mentioned that one of her favorite heel techniques is the sweet tomato heel. That was a cat boardy design, and you can definitely look the video up on YouTube. I think it's kind of an older video, so quality is like a little bit iffy. But the sweet tomato, it's so neat to think like, well, our feet are all really different. We have wide feet, we have narrow feet. Just there's going to be a heel out there that fits your foot, right? And that doesn't make you crazy to make it either, because that's another factor. Well, so Bev, hi Bev. Bev was in the shop yesterday, which was super fun to see. Yay. And Bev was on another meeting, and so I'm really glad that you got to come here in time. So you're spotlighted. How are you?
I am well, and I have been specializing in making every possible mistake with double knitted needles today. But I haven't laughed this much in a long time, so it's a really good thing.
Well, as long as you're not crying, I'm glad.
No, I haven't done that at all. I may have called myself a name occasionally, but it's all good. So first I cast on all 48 stitches. Where'd you go? Here we go.
Yeah. We're here. I don't know. Did we go away from you?
I'll find you. I'll be right back.
Okay. We're lost.
There we
are. Oh, there we are. Good.
So first I cast on all my stitches, but I wasn't watching the other end of the double pointed needle, so they were coming off the other end.
Oh,
that was kind of fun. And then I split them out into, I'm doing the large sock, so it's 48 stitches. So I split them out into the 3 needles, and then managed to try the next row and ended up with 16 stitches on one needle and 32 on the other. And then I kept dropping my stitch marker. And I still don't have it quite right, but like I said, I haven't laughed this much in a long time. It was just really funny. I should write a book, but nobody'd believe it.
We would.
Yeah, we would.
You guys are so good. As I say every week, this hour is so good for me. So,
For all of us.
Yeah.
so
Well, and does anybody have any tips about casting on double points? I mean, I know a lot of us not big fans of double points, but
That was,
do we have
that's
any
funny you
wisdom?
say that, because that was going to be one of my questions was, does anybody have, because there's different ways to cast on double pointed needles. I've always used double points. I like the way they work. I've tried all the other methods and always come back to double points. So tonight I started my new sock after I finished the other pair. So I'm just doing the cuff right now. And what I normally do is take 2 needles together and cast on over the 2 needles.
Oh.
And then when I get finished, I pull 1 needle out and then start dividing the stitches around the 4 needles. But they're very sloppy because they're extra big from being over 2 needles. So tonight I said, okay, I'm going to try something new. So I cast on all of the 64 stitches on 1 needle.
Yikes.
And then I started knitting from that needle for the first 16 stitches.
Wow.
I dropped that needle, picked up the next one, and I worked my way around and then joined in the round. Excuse me. And that seemed to work a little bit better.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna say, Bev, does it make you feel any better that here's Pat, who's knit like a zillion pairs of socks on double points, and she's still thinking about the same issue?
That's
So
exactly right. And we all do.
it helps a lot, you know. And when
We're always learning.
my first lesson was put a point protector on the end of the needle when you're
Right.
casting on.
Or keep your hand back there so they can't slide off.
And the other thing I learned today was that if you're using 3 double pointed needles, you have the opportunity to stab yourself 6 times with every movement of your hand. And then
One
I
other
have
thing
to-
that you guys could do is use
Yeah.
one circular needle, cast on all the needles on the circular needle, and then transfer them back on the double points for the X
That's a
number
good
of.
idea
That's
too.
actually a good idea.
Yeah,
like
that's a
that.
real good idea.
and you could combine that with the Pat solution. You could cast on your one circular, and then take up the Pat solution with the knit onto
Yeah.
your double point as you're going
Right.
around. I love this
I like that idea.
innovation.
Really good. And then I was doing something, you know how you're supposed to join in the round? Somehow that didn't work right. and now I have this. Whoops.
Oh, I have my solution for that
Yes.
is I cast on 1 extra stitch.
Yes.
And then what I do with the extra stitch is I bring it over to the other side and I knit 2 together.
Right.
And then it brings it back and it closes it up really nicely.
Oh, great. Thank
Love
you.
this.
So you've got an extra stitch on each needle and you knit the 2 of them together. And that makes it tight.
Well, I only add an extra. When I do my 64, I cast on 65.
Right.
And then as I join them in the round,
Right.
I move the one from the other side to the left side, and then I knit 2 together and it brings me back to 64.
Correct.
That's what I do.
Excellent. Thank you.
There's a YouTube video on that. I'm always good with visually looking at something.
Yeah, I've watched a couple. So I want to go back. Yeah, I didn't have time this afternoon to get all the way through them. But so I want to go back, find one that I like, that I'm comfortable with, because it's like everything else. People do things different ways, and I just have to figure out which one works for me.
That's
But I
good.
like the casting on the extra stitch part.
So great. Anybody else feel like giving us a little update?
Well, I'm just going to update on my socks. I did
Yay.
finish a pair. These.
I love them.
The grain stitch,
so
right?
cute.
Yes, this is the grain stitch. And with this yarn, this is the String Theory Colorworks Inertia yarn. And it's self-striping, of course, obviously. And it was really easy to keep my stripes together.
Nice.
Very good.
So I was real tickled with that. So
I love
my
the
first one.
texture.
Yeah, it's really squishy because of it.
Mm. And you've knit a lot from this pattern. I was looking
I
at the
have.
pattern and I don't think you can buy it anymore.
It may be in a book because it came
Oh,
out of a book. I will go and find that book and give you the name of that because that had a lot of basic patterns, but it had pattern on the socks rather than just being plain vanilla stocking knit. It showed some different patterns in different weights of socks, but this was the one that jumped out at me and I use it a lot.
Awesome.
I like it.
And
Hey, this is Pat's brother.
oh, my brother's visiting from Maryland. Say
Yeah.
hi, everybody.
Hi, Pat's brother.
Hey, look, I've been listening in and I've got to tell you, there's an appreciation for all of your efforts. There's something I'm a little curious about, though. You guys know that you can go to JCPenney and buy a pack of 10 socks for like $8, right?
But you can't get the Stephen West socks there.
And you can't have a Zoom meeting with people who bought their socks at JCPenney.
That's exactly right.
It would be very interesting.
That was more like COVID.
Oh my God, I love that. So
But we
much.
are very supportive and we appreciate your suggestion, even if you're not
Yes.
gonna do it.
Yep.
Oh,
That's a
goodness.
very man thing to say about going to JCPenney and buying socks. But as soon as you gift them a sock and they appreciate the work that you put into them,
Yes.
they will not be going to JCPenney's and buying the sock.
Well, I made him socks for Christmas a couple of years ago, and he wore them till they were stiff. His wife had to wash them after about 2 months. So, oh,
That's a
Well,
compliment.
That
So-
is.
When we were up
Definitely.
in Maine, just in the end of August, and I was with my brother, and my brother is a woodworker and he makes beautiful bowls and things like that. And I was frustrated with what I was knitting. He goes, you know, you could go to the store and buy a sweater. And I looked at him, I said, yeah, it's right near where they sell wooden bowls.
Good one.
End of chat.
end of conversation.
End of chat. You know, I don't have to go and find a piece of tree that's been cut down to like, you know,
Mhm.
but that's a good sibling rivalry, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sibling rivalry.
Nice that they have an interest.
Yeah.
I brought a couple of socks just so you, I'll remember to spotlight myself. These are my rye socks, my rye light socks. So
pretty.
you can see them. That's the zinnia in the Seven Sisters. And I went like off script with this one and I did my own heel, which as I look at it, I'm like, not that, like, I don't love how that looks, but you know what? I love how the socks feel and I don't look at my ankles that often, but I don't know what sock heel that was, but not my favorite as it has worn. And it was before I was like making more detailed notes about my projects. So, oh well. But just to say that rye sock, is, as a couple people answered in the survey, were like, this is such a good sort of vanilla sock pattern that I've adapted and made my own. So, you know, that's something that our newer sock knitters could think about. Like if you knit the rye sock once and you kind of go through how that goes, you know, maybe on a future pair, you might try a different heel just to see. And then this was a crazy, I used 2 strands of a fingering weight yarn and I don't even know what it was. It was some gifty yarn that I had. And there was a pattern that I came across, and I'm going to have to look up the name, but it was like 3 or 4 patterns. I want to say that it was something like the Great North Woods or something like that. And they were really nice socks designed for DK weight. And this one has that little bit of sort of like kind of not quite cabling, but little textural design, but a standard heel. And they're like my cozy. And you can see they're a little felted back there, but they're my home cozy socks that just feel great. I think I probably knit them too big for my feet anyway, because that was before I knew about negative ease with socks. Oh well. Yeah.
Well,
Julie, how are you?
I can report back on the suggestion given at the top of the hour. I picked up one stitch as I was putting the instep on, and sure enough, it took up the hole.
Ah,
There you go.
So I'll be making the note to pick up a stitch there instead of just PUW.
yes. Well, good. I'm glad that you could have figured that out and reported back so promptly to us. We know that we gave good advice, and that is something that for our newer sock knitters that we all sort of contend with, is sometimes there can be a little hole at that place where, you know, this little place right where you're joining your gusset to your heel flap, and as we've just learned right now, I mean, there's like plenty of people who get very nerdy about this whole issue, and you can Google that, you can see different solutions, but a really easy one is just kind of futzing around with maybe like adding a stitch and then decreasing, just like Kimberly was saying at the beginning of your join of your sock. You can add that extra stitch and then knit two together, and it kind of cinches things in nice and snug.
I think of that also like when you're doing a sweater and when you're picking up, that's the other hole that just,
That hole is annoying.
yeah.
Yes,
That is really annoying
definitely,
because it
Like-
only gets bigger. It only gets bigger.
Yep.
absolutely, yep. So
That's when
another
I
great
use the
technique.
darning approach, and I
Yep.
use a scrap yarn, and I close that bugger right up so I don't have to see it.
That's why I leave a really long tail when I'm joining, because I know I'm gonna have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
All
a
of these
stitch or
are
something.
fantastic solutions. Yes,
Yeah.
long
One of the-
tail. Go ahead.
One of the things that I do when I do my socks is when I get to the toe, and when I'm finished the Kitchener stitch, I always go back on the inside of the toe and reinforce the toe with extra yarn. And I do the same thing on the heel as well when you're doing those joins on the side. So it gives it a little extra reinforcement from the area when it goes over the foot onto through the heel. So I always add extra yarn in there, like just darn it a little bit, just to give them that extra strength.
So you would darn the toe like on the inside, like
Mhm.
literally just sort of like kind of weave up and down and around that area that might. And you know, as we learn our like how our feet are and where we do wear our socks, like I think that's also really a great idea. Like I know that it's like my pinky toe that seems to be the one that is pokey through. So I mean, it could add a little bit on the side that way, but I like that idea. And then you said you also do it along the gussets, like the heel
Yeah,
flap?
where your heel flap is when you do those closures, and even though you think that it's tight enough, when I'm done, I always still see a little gap, even though I tried to fill it as best as I could. And then I go back and I darn in a little bit on both sides, and it gives it that extra strength. So when you're putting it on your heel, then it can go farther without wearing out quicker. Those are the couple of things that I was taught early on, and it really does help with a pair of socks.
Love it. Thank you for those tips. And Teresa, I see your hand.
Yes. I think I'm going to do and apologize. I'm going to do a little bit of I'm pretty proud of this. It's a little bit of a show.
Great.
So here's my rye sock with stripes.
Whoa.
Very cool.
So, and I'm turning the heel. So I tried to do some while we were sitting here and talking, but I don't know where I was, and my lighting is pretty dark, pretty bad. So my dark yarn was hard to see. So I had to take out the 3 rows I made, but that's okay. Not a problem. So I found when I was doing this that when I did the yellow, orange, I get to the end, but then when you come around and you need the orange on this side, you don't have it. So I'm like, well, how can I make it work? So I did some research. I Googled And I found I think his name is Norman. He's Nimble Needles. But he's the one that came up. There's other, I'm sure, that can show you how to do it, but it's like an intarsia. So you do it like an intarsia in the round. And so it's really got this neat thing where you tack your blue behind your orange so that you go across with your orange, you tack the blue behind just so it stays, you go back with your orange. Then you go to your blue and you actually go backwards and you do some purling, and then you come back and you pick up your blue again. It's really a little complicated, but once you start doing it, it totally makes sense. So that's how I ended up getting my stripes.
I love it. Bravo. I need to like give a reaction here, a like clapping reaction.
I was like, and it's funny because I thought I was in the right spot, but then I wasn't. So I'll be working on that when I can pay attention. It's not a glass of wine pair of socks.
There you go.
Right? It's not, but I can still watch TV and do it.
Okay.
So it's not a total concentration sock. So right now my issue is I can't see this. It's dark yarn and my lighting isn't the greatest. So.
And this is for is it the Giants, your team?
This is the Mets.
The Mets.
Okay. Who are actually playing, I think, now.
Awesome. I'm so excited and proud of you that you figured that out. That's awesome.
With some help.
Have you ever swatched in the round?
I have tried swatching in the round. I am honestly, don't shoot me, I'm not a big swatcher.
Because when you swatch in the round, you measure like 3 times the distance and you bring that over and then you knit. So maybe that would work, right? Iris,
yeah, it might. I saw that. But what was really interesting about the way he had you doing it was, so I knit across with the orange, make sure that you catch up the blue, go back with the orange. Is that right? Go back with the orange. Right. So then what you have to do is you have to take you're working with the inside loop of the yarn as opposed to the tail. So you're creating a loop and then you have to go around and then come back again. He did a really good job of showing it on his video, and that, because sometimes I watch videos and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So you have to go find somebody else who makes sense for you. Not everybody makes sense for everybody. So, it was interesting, and I'm getting better at making it cleaner on the sides. So then I'm thinking I can now attempt in the round intarsia and be okay.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
I'm pleased with the way it's turning out so far. So we'll see.
That's all that matters.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so great to have the internet to be able to turn to in these times.
Yes. Because sometimes you go to a book and the drawing just doesn't quite make sense. And
sometimes I need the book because the description that makes sense to my mind, and then I need the video to see the visual. Yep.
And then I also needed some time to let it like ruminate before I could figure out how to do it with the actual knitting part. I like had to think about it in my head and visualize it before I could start it. So, but
thank you for sharing. So cool. Well, we are just coming up on the top. Oh, Pat, yes.
I found that book.
Oh, nice.
It's called How to Knit Socks. 3 Methods Made Easy by Edie Eckman.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Cool.
And that's where the grain stitch sock pattern is.
Super cool.
Nice.
Along with several others.
I will note that down.
Okie doke.
So if you need to hop off and go have your dinner, great. If you have any more questions that I can help with, and you want to stay on just a little longer, I will be hanging out for just to see if anybody has any more questions. But otherwise, hope to see you all next week on Wednesday. And it's just always so much fun. I learned so much, and I take all these notes, and I'll get this put out there on YouTube so it can go in our Socktober email when that comes out on Sunday.
Thanks
Awesome.
for
Thanks, you
being such a
guys.
great
Bye-bye.
host.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. Good to
Bye,
see
everybody.
you
Have a
guys.
Bye,
great
guys.
Bye, Mona.
Everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Hi, Beth.
Hi, Iris. I think I'm gonna be okay. I'll just watch one of those videos again.